Hello friends, what's up? It's Crim. It is a new week and this means a new beta tuning build. Unfortunately, there were not many important changes for rogues except for one. One of our Covenant abilities got a complete rework. So surely this is the Kyrian rework that we've all been waiting for. It is not, it is Venthyr. We now no longer get Slaughter when we join this Covenant, but instead get the Flagellation ability. Let's get into the workings of this ability and other important changes of this build. This latest build seemed mostly centered around the tuning of Covenant abilities, with a lot of classes seeing tweaks, but none quite as drastic as the rework for the Rogue Venthyr ability. Blizzard also released a blue post on Windwalkers, a much neglected spec for a long time now, promising changes and a bunch of bug fixes. But most interestingly, two new items were added to Venari, who is the main vendor in the Maw Zone, similar to how Rathian is the main vendor in patch 8.3. The first of those items is this, and purchasing this item allows you to add a socket to any of your slots. Keep in mind though that in Shadowlands only 6 slots can be socketed, namely your head, neck, bracers, belt and rings. You can purchase this item for Stygia, which is a new currency that you can obtain by doing dailies in the Maw and also by doing a weekly Torghast run. The next item that was added was this one, and this is quite an interesting one. When you purchase this item and use it, this will either give you a conduit that you have not learned yet, or rank up one of your lower rank conduits, selected at random. I think this is quite an interesting way of obtaining conduits that you may not normally have the means to. For example, they're gated behind content that you can't do. This is a good way of obtaining and ranking up said conduits. Let's have a look then at our new reworked Venthyr Covenant ability, Flagellation. When you use this ability, you lash your target 3 times for a moderate amount of shadow damage and debuff your target for the next 45 seconds. Whenever you spend combo points in these 45 seconds, you will deal a small amount of shadow damage for every combo point, and also for every combo point add a stack of this debuff. When the debuff reaches 25 stacks, you can reactivate Flagellation, which will incur its 25-second cooldown and also give you 10% mastery for the next 25 seconds. Note that this is not 10% character sheet mastery, but rather 10% of your mastery rating extra, which will probably result in maybe 1 to 2% extra mastery on your character sheet, because secondary stats are so low early on in the expansion. Now this leads to an interesting playstyle where it may be worth it to just leave the debuff up for almost the full 45 seconds before you reactivate. While the debuff won't stack above 25, you will still hit all of the small shadow damage lashes for every combo point you spend, which results in a decent amount of extra damage and may be worth more than having the extra mastery early on. Let's have a look at how all 3 rogue specs are affected by this rework. For Assassination, there used to be decent synergy between the Blindside talent and Slaughter, which is now no longer there. However, it does nothing to reduce the value of the Blindside talent, and it will still be a good pick in single target. As far as the mastery buff goes, Assassination's mastery is Potent Assassin, which increases the damage of your poisons and bleeds. With there being good legendaries like Dashing Scoundrel and Zoldyck's Insignia that increase the damage of your poisons or bleeds or both, and there being conduits with similar effects, I could see a world where later on in the expansion a big mastery build can be very valuable for Assassination. For Outlaw, Slaughter was pretty much useless, so having it reworked to Flagellation seems like a good change and makes Venthyr more viable. Outlaws Mastery is Main Gouge, which has a chance of proccing an offhand attack whenever you do a main hand attack. This also has some good synergy with the Ambidexterity Conduit, which increases the chance of this happening by 10% whenever Blade Flurry is active, so even for Outlaw this could see play. The spec that is probably the most sad to see Slaughter go is Subtlety, because Slaughter was usable in Shadowlands and with the associated conduit made it very viable. And speaking of conduits, Flagellation does not currently have an associated conduit, but will probably be added in a later build, hopefully next week. As you may have noticed as well, Flagellation does all shadow damage, and the Subtlety conduit Deeper Daggers increases the shadow damage that you deal by 30% for 5 seconds after you use Eviscerate or Shadow Vault. This makes for some great synergy with Flagellation, and Venthyr may be a very viable Covenant pick. We'll have to wait for the sims to see how this works out. As far as the Mastery buff goes, Mastery has always been a very desirable stat for Subtlety even throughout BFA and probably also in Shadowlands because it increases the damage of your finishers. I think out of all three specs, Flagellation is looking to be the most viable for Subtlety. With that, you are once again up to date with all things Rogue. Thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and hit subscribe if you enjoy the content and want to be kept up to date with everything to do with rogues. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below or come find me on my stream, twitch.tv/CrimWow. Have a great day guys, and I'll see you in the next video.